If COVID-19 wasn't dominating the news right now, what would be some of the biggest stories be right now? Scientists found the first ever living animal, a parasite, that doesn't need oxygen to survive. This was in February. Our discovery confirms that adaptation to an anaerobic environment is not unique to single-celled eukaryotes, but has also evolved in a multicellular, parasitic animal. Hence, H. salmonella provides an opportunity for understanding the evolutionary transition from an aerobic to an exclusive anaerobic metabolism. Web link. When I suggested that extraterrestrial life could exist on a planet without oxygen due to them having different needs than human life, my Year 9 science teacher suggested I was stupid and that all life needs oxygen to survive. Who's the stupid one now, Peter? I had a similar experience. We were taught that so far we haven't found any planet besides Earth that's capable of sustaining carbon-based life, so therefore aliens don't exist. Given the presence of that qualifier, I thought it was pretty obvious to ask about non-carbon-based life. But nobody took my question seriously. Egypt and Ethiopia are close to going to war due to Ethiopia building a dam on the Nile River. Ethiopia is diverting some water and limiting water flow to Egypt. The Ethiopian government is refusing to honor previous agreements made that detail the rate at which they will fill the lake behind their dam, and they refuse to negotiate any further with the Egyptians. Does Ethiopia have the military strength to take on Egypt? I don't know much about Ethiopian military, but Egypt gets over $1 billion a year in military aid from the USA and have the largest standing army on the continent. Edit. Wow, this got a lot of attention. To clarify, I was talking hypothetically. As some good commenters have pointed out, an actual ground conflict between the two seems unlikely, as Egypt would have to either get the permission of Sudan and ask Sudan to move troops through their nations, or would have to invade them as well. Thanks for all the great responses. Nah. Egypt is second strongest Arab nation. Edit. It's Arab nation, not Arabic. I got to stop scrolling Reddit after 2 a.m. It depends on the type of war though. Ethiopia has wild geography. An invasion would by no means be easy. It sounds as if the Egyptian army would have to be the aggressor in this scenario. Egypt definitely has the stronger military, but it would be a tough war to effectively win. Why wouldn't Egypt just blow up the dam? Ethiopia's ally, Sudan, a nation situated between the two countries, won't let that happen. Sudan supports the dam. Without the dam, they face huge floods followed by very low water. They want the water to be stable all year round. Sudan has publicly admitted they want the dam now. Egypt doesn't have the logistic resources or numbers to run a multi-day campaign over 1,500 miles of hostile territory. Ethiopia has high-tech military machinery that's advanced enough to repulse any land or air missile attack imposed by Egyptian military. If Egypt's military forces tampered with the dam heavily funded by China and Italy, Ethiopia could easily retaliate very harshly by blowing up their Aswan Dam, washing 95% of Egypt into the sea and putting Cairo underwater. And trust me, the West won't sit back and watch a predominantly Christian country take a beating by a Muslim one. Egypt equals Muslim country, Ethiopia equals predominantly Orthodox Christian, with an ancient Ethiopian Jew population that has significant ties backed and supported by Israel. Wow, geopolitics are so effing intricate. It blows my mind how well versed some people are, because that's one area in which I'm pretty clueless. The nearly 2-year-long Ebola outbreak in the DRC has ended. The last patient to be treated has survived. Wow. I was worried about this a couple of months ago, but then the pandemic that must not be named took over my attention and I forgot about it. Incredibly brave people fighting Ebola. Such a scary disease. Yeah, the people that get out there to treat patients are some of the world's biggest heroes. I can't imagine how scary it must be to be living in a place with an Ebola outbreak going on. Thank God it's all over now. That was the last bit of positive news I got before all this started happening. One of the main routes into downtown Seattle, the West Seattle Bridge, was closed yesterday because cracks in support beams made it structurally unsound. It will take several months to fix and will not reopen until it's done. This would normally destroy the entire Seattle commute, but it happened right now, so it's barely even a blip on the local news. The former king of Spain and his Swiss accounts. Wow. That is crazy. Seems like it's the perfect time to get away with whatever you want. Friend of mine works in accounting and he said his company is planning on seeing a massive spike in fraud with all the bankruptcies expected to occur. People trying to sneak under the radar, so to speak. Not sure it's trying to sneak under the radar versus the jig being up. Like if I embezzled $1 million and things are going well with the company, I can cover it up. The accounts have $1 million less than what management thinks, but the business keeps operating. Suddenly a crisis hits, the company needs to spend that million, and there's no way I can conceal that it isn't there. Boom, fraud detected. This is what happened to a previous boss of mine. He wasn't letting us write off uncollectible invoices, usually duplicate invoices, so it looked like a lot of money was owed to us. Then a downturn hit and the board wanted to borrow against the large accounts receivable balance but couldn't because the bank did an audit which showed those invoices are all uncollectible. I had to quit the job because he kept trying to get me, the accountant, to say those invoices were collectible, but I simply wouldn't because I knew they weren't. If I'd have known why he wanted me to lie, I would have gone above him, but I thought he was just an idiot. And the fact that through those accounts he received €100 from Saudi Arabia and that he's being sued in the UK for threatening his ex-lover, all the while Spanish courts refuse to open an investigation. Don't you mean Spanish courts refuse to open an inquisition? The one time a Spanish inquisition was expected, and they didn't come through. Astronomer here. We might have a bright naked eye comet next month in the northern hemisphere, our first since 1997, and by May might be one of the brightest things in the night sky. I mean, comets are notoriously tricky to predict in brightness, as it might just break apart as it gets closer to the sun. But it's really exciting to think about, albeit no one has heard about it because of the pandemic, though granted, doesn't a pandemic need a bright comet? Edit. You might be able to get it in binoculars right now, or at least have fun trying. Is a star chart for it? And yes, the last bright northern hemisphere great comet was Hale-Bopp, which was up for about a year to the naked eye. If you were a southern hemisphere resident in 2006, however, you probably remember Comet McNaught. Edit 2, because many are asking, that bright star in the evening sky is actually Venus. It's around its peak brightness and height right now, and you should go take a look if your social distancing allows it. Might as well take a break from Netflix and look at a whole another planet. Edit 3. No, there is no chance of the comet hitting us or affecting life on Earth beyond potentially getting bright. Web link. You know what? I'm really excited for this, thank you for that information. Glad to see you're still hanging around. Thank you for all you do. I would hope the locusts plaguing East Africa, the Middle East, and the Indian subcontinent. It's describing some swarms as being the size of New York, and they are eating their harvest, threatening widespread famine. I think without coronavirus we would mobilize to try to control this population the way we did for Zika-carrying mosquitoes in the Americas. Edit. Describes how in 2018 an unfortunate series of cyclones from the Indian Ocean hit an extremely remote area of the Arabian Peninsula known as the Empty Quarter. This produced extraordinary rain and gave them what they needed to breed. Because a second cyclone hit occurred during their breeding cycle, instead of drying out and having most of their population die out in the desert, the population exploded. In favorable conditions they can multiply by 400x their population every 6 months. Then they mass migrated. Also for clarity, a swarm was identified as 3 times the size of NYC. Web link. I swear I remember hearing about some group readying up like 200k ducks to go fight the locusts. Cause one duck can eat like 150 locusts a day or something. I'll have to find a source. Edit. No idea how accurate this is, but it's from March 2nd. Web link. I thought you were joking. This is unreal. What's next? Frogs? Lice? I was walking in the late evening along a storm drainage lake near my house. The ground was covered with thousands of small frogs. So I suggest anyone who's a firstborn buy some mutton and smear the blood over your door. Or if you have kids. Just one horseman at a time, please. That's not how the apocalypse works. I'd like to say the act, but crap like this doesn't tend to make the news. Web link. Earn IT is only on the table because of COVID-19. There's no way they would try this if we weren't distracted. That's a fair point of view. Maybe another good /r/AskReddit thread could be what are people trying to sneak by with all of our attention elsewhere. Reddit link. California regularly passes tax increases on Friday afternoons, especially before 3-day weekends. It's amazing to me. The simple fact that this is impossible to implement. But that's not enough to stop them. It's one of the most disruptive acts I have ever seen. Bunch of old dumb people making rules without even remotely understanding the implications. Right, as soon as someone like Apple or Amazon gets hacked and loses millions or billions from a leaked iPhone schematic or something, this law would stricken down immediately with a huge settlement from the government. This not only F's smaller companies and users, but will also throw away millions of tax dollars. All because some old F's don't know how the internet works. Apple and Amazon might just pack up and move to greener pastures if this passes, I'd think. That, or split their US operations from international operations. Either way, they have powerful lobbyists and deep pockets. Probably the oil price war actually. Saudi Arabia is trying to force the Russians into cutting production since they won't play ball with OPEC+, and US shale might pay the prices we need, high cost for this entire industry to function. I work in the oil industry. This is huge right now. It's honestly just about the same as the coronavirus for us. Ours getting cuts, people losing their jobs, etc., all due to oil price and not coronavirus. US shale is paying the price. Even without the virus, it would kill our economy. Yes, it did start before coronavirus, but the impact happened at the same time. That Putin changed his country's constitution so he can be president until 2036. I think we've all known for a while that dude's going to leave power in a casket and not a moment sooner. I mean, he could go the North Korea route, having him as supreme leader forever and the person running the country just be like the prime minister. ISIS bombs Sikh place of worship in Afghanistan. Edit. Thank you for the awards. Edit 2. For everyone mentioning my previous edit, I am Sikh myself, so it touches my heart that so many people care about this. I'm not trying to be insensitive. Afghan officials say 25 were killed and 8 more are wounded in an attack on the Sikh temple in the nation's capital. It appears multiple gunmen stormed the temple complex while there were approximately 150 people inside. A Sikh who took cover says the militants went room to room, shooting and throwing hand grenades. The Islamic State organization has claimed responsibility. Effing buttholes are at it again. Did they ever stop? Or did the media just stop covering it? Aw man, bombing the Sikhs? I know it's ISIS, but come on guys. The US government trying to pass an anti-child porn law that actually just gives them the ability to search through all of our messages. Edit. If you want to learn more about this act, here's to an article with some great information. Web link. And also bans end-to-end encryption. If you know anything about internet security, you know that would be devastating to literally everything that's based online in any way whatsoever. Wait, what? Nobody would be allowed to use end-to-end encryption? Yep, which means that the government, and anyone who's decent at using computers, could get into any person or corporation's secrets if they are able to intercept a message. Normally it's not a problem because of end-to-end encryption. And if the government can, anyone can. We will only let good guys have access, elderly people who don't understand technology but want access to read all our communication. This is worse than forcing you to hand over a key to your house to the police. But hey, if you aren't breaking any laws. This is worse than forcing you to hand over a key to your house to the police. It's like outlawing locks on doors. We just want the world to be safer, they said, and endlessly better for ages ahead. We just want the world to be safer, that's it, or maybe we just want to look through your crap. It would be allowed to be used, it's just backdoors would be required into them, which, if you know anything about internet security, will ultimately not only be exploited by the government, but found by other malicious users, which essentially renders the encryption useless. Encryption with backdoors, or more accurately, front doors that the service provider holds the keys to, doesn't count as end-to-end. Or encryption. They pulled it off successfully with the Patriot Act against terrorists, so why not do it with pedophiles, despite immunity being granted to the rich ones? Wait, the name of the bill doesn't actually tell you what it is? F those guys. More common than you think. How do you pass really crafty legislation that's basically nothing more than a power grab? Give it a wonderful sounding name like Anti-Child Porn Law or the Patriot Act. Then come out and say, this bill intends this or intends to achieve that. Don't talk about what the actual bill is or says, only what the intentions are, and make it sound wonderful. Third step is when someone argues against it, you say what, you hate children? You don't want to stop child porn? You don't like patriotism? Don't you want to get rid of terrorists and feel safe? Whenever you hear a politician talking about intentions, be very skeptical, and it's probably a good idea to find out what the legislation actually says. Edit. Wow, thank you for the silver and all the responses. This really blew up more than I expected. Even though I haven't responded, I agree with many comments. Thanks. The Patriot Act. The name was brilliant branding, as it's a crazy power grab with a lot of nasty crap hidden in there. But how do you vote against something labeled patriot? The Patriot Act is one of the most unpatriotic pieces of legislation in this nation. It's so much of a misnomer that it's comical. It also ruins encryption and basically sacrifices the foundation the internet is built on. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.